Hi there, my name is Aya. You're watching Aya Reads, and I'm here to talk about all the books that I read in the month of October. Before I get started, excuse the lighting. It is really dark out now that it's starting to become fall and slowly becoming winter. I'm finding it difficult to film when it's not the weekend, and right now I need to film this before it's weekend because I have other things that I need to film. So yeah, I'm sorry, but luckily this was not my best reading month. So most of the books I'm going to talk about, I already talked about in my mid-month wrap-up, which I'll leave linked for you. So I had a great beginning of the month, as you'll see in my mid-month wrap-up. I read most of the books I read this month at the beginning. After the mid-month point, I started becoming obsessed with this Dutch show that I could not stop watching. So reading really fell to the wayside, and only like in the last couple days started reading more again. So you'll see that I only actually have 3 new books to talk about, and all the other ones I already talked about in my mid-month wrap-up. So yeah, I look like shit, the lighting is shit, but hopefully this will just be a short and sweet video. Let's start with the stats. I read 12 books this month, which equated to 4,564 pages. I had 2 3 stars, 3 4 stars, 1 4.5 stars, and 6 5 stars. One of those was a reread. I read 3 young adult books and 9 adult books. I read 9 romances, which consisted of 3 paranormal romances, 1 fantasy romance, 4 contemporary romances, and 1 sports romance. I count that as its own category, which 2 of those 4 contemporary romances were also military romances. And of the 3 non-romances I read, 1 was paranormal and 2 were fantasy. I read 7 novels, 2 novellas, 2 mangas, and 1 graphic novel. And as far as my goals are concerned, I read 1 that was published before 2014, which makes my total amount of those books for that challenge read 11, which I'm 100% not going to meet that challenge because in the latter 2 months of the year, my focus is solely going to be finishing series. Which, speaking of that goal, I started 2 series this month, but I DNF'd 1, so I only added 1 series to my series spreadsheet. And I actually finished 1 series, but that doesn't do anything to like the amount of series I'm actually currently reading, because I already counted that series as a series that I was caught up on, which is the Chestnut Spring series, which means I added 1 series, which makes my total open series 42, and my goal is to have 30 open series by the end of the year, which means I still need to finish 12. We'll see how that will pan out. Anyway, let's actually get to the wrap-up portion. I had 1 reread, which I talked about in my mid-month wrap-up, and it was Wolfsong, and I gave this 5 stars, one of my favorite books of all time. I had 2 3 stars, and I talked about both of them in my mid-month wrap-up, which was The Four Leaf and Raised by Wolves. Of the 3 4-star reads I had, one of them I talked about in my mid-month wrap-up, which was Full Metal Alchemist Volume 3. Then I also read Her Soul to Take by Harley LaRue. I gave this one 4 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is a story about this girl who is vlogging these paranormal experiences. And one day while she's doing that, she summons this demon. She actually met him days ago, and she found him arrogant but very attractive. So when she summons him, she thinks he's playing a prank on her, but then she finds out that he's an actual demon, and she finds out that the town she went back to, the town she grew up in, actually has this cult that really wants to sacrifice 3 people, one of which is her, to this god and, you know, to gain power. This was such a fun ride. I really love Harley LaRue's writing. I think she is just like the queen of smut. I really, really enjoy her stories, and this one was no exception. I gave it 4 stars because I do have a feeling I'm gonna enjoy the 2nd and 3rd book more. This did feel a little bit too campy, but I enjoyed the lore. I am interested to see what she's gonna tell in the 2nd and 3rd stories, because those couples have already been set up in the 1st story. So I don't know. I will be finishing that series this year, and I think I'm gonna be finishing it in November. I do have to say though, the main female character was too stupid to live. She made so many dumb decisions that I just could not get on board with. And that made me especially flabbergasted because she was supposed to know about all these paranormal things, and she was doing these paranormal investigations. So she should have been smarter. Plus she was like a college student. Once again, she should have been smarter, yet she made so many dumb decisions that I just could not get on board with. So that kind of also lowered my rating for it. I do have a feeling the heroines of the second and third book are going to be way smarter than Ray. But yeah, like I said, if you've not read this series, I would highly recommend it. It is such a great one to read in the fall time. My last 4-star read was The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarrow. So I was debating with this book whether it was going to be a 4 or 4.5. I ended up giving it a 4-star, and I'm going to tell you the reasons why in a bit. This is a military romance. It's by Rebecca Yarrow, who has recently become very, very famous for Fourth Wing, which is a fantasy romance. Before Fourth Wing, she was primarily known for her military romance, or at least that's how I knew her. I didn't actually read any other thing by her except Fourth Wing, so I'm actually doing a vlog, a Rebecca Yarrow's vlog, to see if I enjoy her other books the same as Fourth Wing. So far I gave this one 4 stars. This follows Ella and Beckett, and Ella's brother is in the military, and he asked her, I don't know if you can see that, he asked her to write to his buddy in the military because he doesn't have any family. So she does, so they start writing letters back and forth, and then one day he actually receives her brother's last letter, meaning her brother died, and he asks Beckett to go back to the town that that the brother's from and Ella's from to take care of Ella. But when her brother died, she didn't know that it was Beckett writing to her. He was using his call sign. And when her brother died, he actually stopped writing. So she assumed, since both he and her brother were in this like special forces type group in the military, she thought he died as well. So when he comes back, he never tells her that he's actually the one she's been writing letters to, because he thinks that she'll never forgive him. So the reason her brother wanted him to take care of her is because she has a very sick daughter. She has this very aggressive form of cancer, her daughter. That's when their romance starts. Yeah, so like I said, I was debating between a 4 or 4.5. Ultimately, I ended up with a 4 rating because I felt like this book, I, at one point, started questioning how many bad things could happen to one person, which really took me out of the story, because I was like, usually with stories, I see them as real people, whereas in this book, I was like Rebecca. Like, it took me out of the story, and I really started seeing them as characters and, you know, seeing this as an actual book as opposed to, like, this story somebody's telling me. I don't know if that makes any sense. This girl just kept getting hit and hit and hit, and I just, at one point, I was like, it feels kind of unrealistic how many bad things could happen to one person. So that kind of took me out of the story. Plus, formatting of this book is interesting. Right now I'm actually reading another book by her, The Things We Leave Unfinished, and she kind of does the same thing with letters. But, so you read actually almost all of the letters that they've sent back and forth, except the letters are not in order, which is a problem because, especially from his point of view, and also her point of view, they both fell in love with each other while writing letters, yet I did not really believe their story of them falling in love through letters because the letters were so disjointed, in my opinion. So I never really got a chance to fall in love with them in the beginning or while they were writing letters back and forth. And the only story I cared about is when they were actually in each other's presence, whereas in their mind, that first beginning part of their relationship through letters was a very big thing in their relationship. It's one of the reasons why Ella's holding back in the beginning, because she's still in love with Chaos, even though they are the same person. And obviously he fell in love with her through these letters too. So I think if they were just chronologically, or we got to read a couple letters, one right after the other in the beginning, maybe I would have believed that first part more. So that's why it was 4 stars. I didn't really enjoy Beckett especially. I thought he was such a wonderful guy. He does a lot of acts of service, which I really love reading that in books. I love the whole small town aspect of it. I did love that he was out of the military when they first meet, and I really loved and adored her kids. I thought her kids were very well fleshed out, and I really definitely did enjoy them. I would say if you really like military romance and you really like Fourth Wing, I would definitely say try this book as well. My only 4.5-star book I also talked about in my mid-month wrap-up, and it was Raven Song by TJ Klune. I had 5 stars, and I talked about 4 of them in my mid-month wrap-up, and they were Liberty Falls by Lee Jacot, Lore Olympus Volume 5 by Rachel Smythe, Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford, and Hopeless by Elsie Silver. And my last 5-star read is Full Metal Alchemist Volume 4. This is my first 5 stars in this series, and this series has definitely been getting better with each volume, in my opinion, because I gave the first one 2 stars, the second and third volume 4 stars, and this is my first 5 stars, like I said. This series, you follow 2 brothers who are alchemists, Alphonse and Elric, and one day when they're younger, their mother dies and they try to bring her back from the dead, but that is one thing you cannot do in alchemy. So Elric loses an arm and a leg, and Alphonse loses his entire body. So Elric puts him in a suit of armor and gets dubbed the Full Metal Alchemist because he has these metal arms, like one metal arm and one metal leg. And they are traveling the world and trying to see, or figuring out a way to bring their bodies back. And this volume I really, really enjoyed because most of it was just flashbacks of when they were little. So you actually see finally how they were before they lost their mom. Then you see them actually trying to bring her back and what happened. And then you see the aftermath of them and how Elric became part of the military. I really, really loved that. I thought that was so heartwarming. It just made me sad, and I really loved seeing Alphonse as a little boy as well. And you know, it just made me feel for them so much. This was full of heart, and yeah, one of the reasons why I gave the first one 2 stars, because this series was lauded as this beautiful relationship between these brothers, and I really didn't get to see that in the first book because it felt like tiny missions, and we never really spent any time on the relationship. And I'm a very character-driven reader. I think that is very important. I know that is a very important part of storytelling for me. And this one had it in spades, which is why it's currently my favorite volume. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this volume, and I am very much looking forward to continuing on, which I didn't really think I would say that when I first finished the first volume. So now for my 2 favorite books, and they were the 2 new releases I read, and the 2 books I was looking forward to most this month. First one is Caught Up by Liz Tom Ford. This is the 3rd book in the Windy City series, and I've been loving this series. Even though this is my favorite this month, it's not my favorite in the series. That one still goes to The Right Move, but I really, really enjoyed Kaya Miller's story. Once again, if you want to know my full thoughts, definitely check out that mid-month wrap-up, but I also did a vlog of the new releases I read, which this one and my next favorite are on there, so I'll leave that linked for you. So my last favorite is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. This is the last book in the Chestnut Springs series. You follow Bo and Bailey, and I really, really enjoyed it. I loved it very much. Once again, not my favorite in the series. That one still goes to Powerless, but this one I really, really loved. And I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Elsie's gonna do next. Definitely check out my mid-month wrap-up and that vlog if you want to know more of my thoughts. Let's see if there are any other vlogs I can direct you to. Yeah, so both Wolf Song, Raised by Wolves, and Raven Song are all in my werewolf vlog. So definitely check that out. And like I said, there's gonna be a Rebecca Yarros vlog coming in November. And in November, I'm also planning on doing a vlog for the 2nd book in the Fourth Wing, or the Imperium series by Rebecca Yarros. So those are things you can look forward to. And yeah, I think that's it. I really would love to know what your favorite book was that you read this month, and I really hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know by leaving me a like if you did. And thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.